As y'all can see from the title of this video, everything returns back to itself. What I want to talk about is emotions. I want to talk about being reactive instead of being proactive. And I also want to talk about being whole and what that means. This might be a two-part video, but for right now, we're going to see where this takes us. But the starting point for this is hurt people hurt people. I've been recognizing as of late that emotions are running high right now. And what people tend to do is whatever emotions that they're feeling, they project that onto other people and other things. The emotion that I can use, for example, of this is anger. That was something that for me personally that I had to overcome, my own anger and like getting mad easily. And I remember when my anger used to get to me to the point where it used to blind me. I didn't care about anything that somebody was saying in front of me, and I didn't care about anything that somebody was doing in front of me. I was already triggered. And the one thing that I did care about is making sure that they felt what I was feeling. Well, ultimately it wasn't anger, but it was coming from a place of hurt. And it didn't make me feel better. Sometimes it would linger for a day, and sometimes it would linger for like a week or whatever. But that anger was like always simmering there. And oftentimes when somebody is suffering, they think that it would be better for them to have somebody else experience their suffering as if it's going to resolve that, and it doesn't. If anything, it makes it worse. And this is where being proactive instead of reactive comes into play. Emotions lead to emotions, and thoughts lead to thoughts. What do I mean by this? The one thing that I've been telling people as of late, and I came to the deep realization, is you're not your thoughts, you're not your body, and you're not your emotions. So it's a dangerous thing to identify with those things. And what happens when you don't identify with those things, especially if you identify with those things for so long, like your whole entire life, it leads you to a realization that you don't know who you really are if you don't identify with those things. And that's a good thing, because it's ultimately going to lead you right back to yourself, which yourself is pointing to. And yourself is everything that you are in its totality at any given moment. So yourself at its core knows the beginning and it knows the end, because it's connected with eternity. That is such a huge statement right there. And it's going to take you a lifetime to figure that out, as with all of us, including myself, of who we are at our core, individually speaking, and then second, collectively speaking. And we all are on a journey of getting back to ourselves, getting back to the God-like image within us, the image of God within us, that once we get there, we can have the ability to emanate who we are to the outside world. But if we look to the outside world for finding ourselves, is not going to happen. And the direction that the outside world is going in is extremely potentially dangerous, for the reason that it's leading to everything that's contrary to yourself. What do I mean by that? What is contrary to yourself? Yourself at its very, very core is gentle, Yourself at its very, very core is silent, and yourself at its very, very core is in solitude, away from any and everything, because of the uniqueness of yourself. And the outside world is contrary to all of those qualities that I just named. The outside world is noisy. The outside world is compact. And the outside world is full of chaos and like commotion. So with that being said, it leads to your senses being overly stimulated, and noise leads back to noise. This is why people have a hard time listening to each other, because they're not quiet within themselves. And people already have an answer for whatever it is that you're saying, because they're not listening to you, honestly speaking. This is why you have 2 ears and 2 eyes and 1 mouth, because you need to be watching and listening to things more than you are speaking of them, because we ultimately don't really know anything truly. And that's the core of purpose served. And this brand is to encourage others to serve their purpose. But if you don't know who you are, you're not going to know what purpose to serve. And due to the fact that you exist, that means that you have a purpose to serve, because everything in existence is serving a purpose. And something that captures this image perfectly of what I'm talking about, of everything leading back to itself, is you can find this within all cultures throughout all throughout history. And that's a mandala, which is Sanskrit for the word circle. And the mandalas is emanating at its like in the very, very core, is reflecting what like is going on the outside and the inside, but primarily everything is coming from the center of the mandala. And that's also representative of our spirit. That's also representative of our soul, and that's representative of our body, ultimately like our psyche. And I can put images up like on here so you guys can see. And also shout out to a friend of mine, Wendy, who made me a beautiful mandala. Well, it was already made. She gifted it to me, but she has a bunch of these. As you can see, it's like a glare coming from the computer. I apologize. Hold on. But this is a mandala right here. And as you can see, at its core, everything is emanating that same pattern from the outside. And this also is a great representation of wholeness. And everybody wants to be whole at the end of the day. That's all of our goals, is to be whole. And we've been experiencing for a long time a mutilation of our soul, and it's fragmented, and the circle isn't perfect. And a circle is a great representation of the self as well. And the self has no end or beginning, because it's here right now and present right now, which means that it's a part of the eternal, which all of us are a part of. But when our mind gets taken away from the here right now and gets pulled into the future, or gets pulled into the past, we get pulled away from ourselves. And the future leads to the future, and the past leads to the past. Every single thing leads back to itself. And we need to lead ourselves back to ourselves. And we can't will that on our own. We need the Spirit of God and the help of God to do that, which means that we have to surrender to everything in order for us to get to where we must go and be who we must be. That's a huge idea. So this is only part 1 intuitively speaking right now. And the second part of this is I'm going to be talking about the hidden messages in water, where we can see that within water itself of making that same exact shape within snowflakes. Um, yeah, serve y'all purpose. I thank y'all, and this is just a spontaneous message that I decided to do, and I hope this was helpful. God bless, Godspeed, serve your purpose.